In the previous part, humanity faced the sudden attack of the Colossus Titan and the Armored Titan. But when the wall that was once considered impenetrable was destroyed, Oren and his comrades joined the Survey Corps. They carried within themselves the desire to reclaim freedom for mankind. However, a terrifying secret gradually unfolded when Oren himself possessed the power to transform into a Titan. From then on, the boundary between friends and enemies began to blur, opening up a battle for survival more brutal than ever. For 100 years, humanity had lived peacefully thanks to the sturdy walls. People gradually forgot the fear of the Titans. But on one fateful day, Titans suddenly appeared and destroyed the wall. Humanity was forced to rise and fight for survival. 5 years after that incident, the army at this time successfully captured an abnormal Titan. However, the threat to humanity was still far from over. In one battle, suddenly when the wall was damaged, from within, the enormous face of a Titan was revealed. Leaving the soldiers in shock, Pastor Nick shouted. He demanded that it be immediately covered. Nick did not want sunlight to shine upon that Titan. At that moment, the cracked area of the wall was sealed off. No one expected that Titans were actually hidden within the walls. That was the very wall humanity had always trusted. The military police brigade was responsible for cleaning up the remnants after the battle. Meanwhile, Pastor Nick was interrogated every day, even when Hange grabbed him by the collar and threatened to throw him from a height of 50 meters. Nick still remained steadfast. He refused to reveal any secrets, and he stayed utterly loyal to his faith. He even accepted the possibility of death, which left Hange helpless. She could only throw him back onto the wall. At that moment, a sense of unease and fear spread among everyone. Meanwhile, in the southern part of the wall, the soldiers of the Survey Corps who were not on the main mission were gathered in a small house. Krista noticed something unusual. She realized the others were armed, while her group was not. Sasha, feeling frustrated, put her gun down on the table, but she was startled when she heard footsteps outside. Outside, the Survey Corps observed. They discovered many Titans approaching. At that moment, a total of 9 Titans appeared together, but their group had no weapons. Everyone was ordered to evacuate to nearby villages. They had to split up in 4 different directions. Sasha decided to return to her village in the south, while Reiner and Ymir went with her. But as they were moving, suddenly, several abnormal Titans unexpectedly attacked them. Michi immediately rushed into battle. He left the command to his comrades. During the fight, Oren's memories of his mother resurfaced. They reminded him that he had to protect Mikasa. Suddenly, Oren woke up. He saw Mikasa right beside him. Oren picked up his sword. He was ready to fight. At that moment, Armin rushed over. He delivered urgent news to the whole team. By then, Michi had already slain many regular Titans. But he encountered an unusually strange abnormal Titan. When Michi mounted his horse to escape, suddenly that Colossus-like Titan grabbed the horse and hurled it toward him, causing Michi to fall and making him land in the jaws of a 4-meter Titan. Right then, a voice rang out. Unexpectedly, that abnormal Titan could speak human language. It asked him about the Survey Corps. Then it ordered the other Titans to attack Michi. For the first time, they witnessed a Titan that could talk. That terrified Michi, but he remembered his old vow, which made him determined to fight until the very end. However, Michi eventually fell, and he became a victim of the Titans. Meanwhile, news of a Titan appearing inside Wall Rose was spreading rapidly, and the soldiers immediately reported it to Commander Pixis in Trost District. Armin speculated that the Titans within the walls were created through hardening powers. Now the Survey Corps immediately prepared to set out, while Hange continued to study the Titan skin that remained. But Pastor Nick was forced to go along, because he might hold an important secret. Somewhere else, Sasha returned to her village to evacuate the people. 3 years ago, her father once advised the family should give up hunting, because Titans have already taken over farmland. But Sasha still chose to stay. She kept living as her ancestors had taught her. When she returned to the village, Sasha saw Titan footprints everywhere. In a small house, she encountered a horrifying sight. A Titan was devouring a woman. But right in front of it stood a little girl. Sasha immediately rushed in to save her. She quickly pulled the little girl to escape, but the Titan had already noticed them. Sasha used her bow and arrows to hold the Titan back. She told the girl to run with all her strength, because Sasha believed that someone would surely come to save them. Sasha had only 1 arrow left, but if she missed the shot, both of them would immediately die. So she bravely charged forward. Sasha thrust the final arrow straight into the Titan's eye. At once, she and the girl ran away. Luckily, Sasha's father and the villagers arrived on horseback just in time. The girl was saved, while Sasha witnessed the joy of her father, as he saw that she had managed to protect someone else. Elsewhere, Connie returned to his hometown village. When he reached his house, he was shocked to find a titan lying in the ruins. It was motionless and unable to move. But the strange thing was, no one knew how it appeared there. Connie returned to his village. When he stood before his house, Connie did not see anyone still alive. A comrade patted his shoulder to comfort him. He said that perhaps the villagers had managed to evacuate in time. But Connie found it hard to believe, because all the surrounding houses had been destroyed, while the stables were completely empty without a single horse. As Connie was about to leave, suddenly, he heard a familiar voice. A voice that sounded exactly like his mother. It softly whispered, "Welcome home, my son." Connie panicked and turned around. Suddenly he saw a motionless titan. It was staring straight at him. Although this titan could not move, it was lying right in the middle of the house. Reiner slapped Connie's shoulder hard. He reminded him to hurry on, because many others still needed to be evacuated. Thanks to those words, Connie regained his composure and continued moving. At 7 o'clock, Ymir and Krista, along with 2 Survey Corps soldiers, were armed and heading south. Everyone wanted to confirm the breach in Wall Rose. During a short rest, Ymir suddenly admitted she was willing to sacrifice herself for Krista's family. This shocked Krista, because she had once suspected that Ymir only acted for herself. 9 hours after the Titans appeared, the garrison regiment had gathered their forces. They wanted to eliminate the Titans advancing further inside the walls. At that moment, the soldiers were patrolling around the wall. They also began to notice something strange. The wall had no cracks at all. So how did the Titans manage to infiltrate? By nightfall, Connie kept walking anxiously. He feared that Titans could appear at any moment. When he passed near a forest, Connie was startled to see a shadowy figure ahead. But upon closer look, he realized it was only Armin along with another Survey Corps group. That unexpected encounter left everyone astonished, because the wall was still intact. This made everyone question, where had the Titans entered from? Afterward, they discovered an old castle, so the group decided to spend the night there. Meanwhile, Hange was still conducting research on a piece of hardened Titan skin that the team had collected. She proposed the theory, perhaps the walls themselves were actually created from this very hardening ability. Armin then speculated, if Aren could use the hardening power, the mission to retake Wall Maria could absolutely become reality. Hearing this, Aren felt unsettled, because he still did not fully understand his Titan abilities. Hange looked straight at Aren, and she demanded that he must try. In the south, as the migrant convoy passed by, Pastor Nick was forced by the Survey Corps. They made him witness the sight of people abandoning their homeland. When they returned, Hange questioned him once more, but he still refused to reveal the secret. He only mentioned the name of a girl who had joined the scouts this year. Nick said, they need to keep an eye on that girl. Right at that moment, Sasha rushed in to report an urgent situation. Amid the chaos, Hange also discovered Ymir and Krista are people worth paying close attention to. At the old castle, the young Survey Corps soldiers began to rest. Reiner and Ymir seemed serious, while the new recruits chatted casually. They even found a bottle of wine with a strange language on it. But they were forbidden from drinking. Grease made mocking remarks, which angered Connie. In the middle of the night, Titans suddenly appeared and surrounded the castle, forcing everyone to jump to their feet. The 4 armed soldiers immediately stayed outside to hold the Titans back. While the new recruits were ordered to take shelter inside, they were tasked with protecting the castle. But the number of Titans was overwhelming, and some had already climbed the walls and broken in. At that moment, Reiner rushed ahead to draw the Titan's attention. But as soon as he opened the door, suddenly a Titan appeared there. It grinned with a sinister, mocking expression. Reflexively, Reiner quickly slammed the door shut, but it was useless against the Titan. It smashed the door open, and just as it was about to attack Reiner, his memories suddenly resurfaced. It turned out that he had also been attacked by Titans in the past. But thanks to the sacrifice of his comrades, he had been saved from danger. Back to the present, Bertholdt realized the situation was critical. He immediately used his weapon to attack it. Thus Bertholdt and Reiner risked their lives to block the Titan and protect everyone. Meanwhile, Connie and Ymir did their best to assist. They even tried using the castle's old cannon to stop the Titan. But since none of the 3 knew how to use it, they accidentally dropped the cannon, causing the Titan to be defeated. But just when everyone thought it was over, Connie realized that the Titan wasn't dead. He quickly used his knife to finish it off. Suddenly, another Titan appeared. It immediately attacked Connie. Reiner swiftly rushed in to save him. In the midst of the chaos, Reiner nearly had his arm bitten off by the Titan, but thanks to Ymir's reckless courage, he was saved. Ymir then bandaged Reiner's wound. While disinfecting his injury, Ymir used the leftover bottle of liquor. Since she didn't have any bandages, Krista had to tear her skirt to wrap his wound. That gentle act made Reiner's heart tremble for a moment. Ymir saw this, which made her look jealous. She pretended to complain. "I cut my hand." But Connie immediately exposed her lie. Still, the whole group deeply appreciated Krista's kindness. At this moment, Connie expressed his gratitude to everyone, because he was always the one being helped. But before they could rest, a new wave of Titans appeared. They surrounded the old castle. And so, a deadly battle was about to begin. After that, they had a short conversation about Reiner. The atmosphere among the group became strange, until Ymir suddenly interrupted, and suggested they should go find more weapons to fight. When they looked out the window, everyone was stunned by the power of the Survey Corps. At that moment, 4 soldiers armed with weapons were preparing to return to the rookies. Suddenly, loud noises echoed. Their horses had all been killed. Meanwhile, giant boulders came crashing down, killing 2 soldiers instantly, and it was the Beast Titan who had thrown them. After accomplishing its goal, that Colossus-like Titan climbed down the other side of the wall. Meanwhile, at the castle, a swarm of Titans of all sizes relentlessly attacked. The 2 remaining soldiers had no gas left to use their maneuvering gear. Now, only Gelgar held a sharp sword in his hand, but he was far too badly wounded. Gelgar lost his strength and fell straight into a Titan's mouth. Nanaba risked her life to rush in and save him. She managed to catch him just in time. But when Nanaba turned her head to the left, right before her eyes was the face of another horde of Titans. They were quickly driven back into the tower. Gelgar's eyes lit up when he spotted a liquor bottle placed in front of him. But when he lifted it to drink, not a single drop came out. He burst into tears like a child, while Gelgar didn't even care that Titans had surrounded them. Now, the rookies above could do nothing but watch helplessly, and they were horrified as they saw their comrades torn apart. At this moment, Krista still tried to encourage everyone to fight to the end. Even though she knew there was no hope, she still gave it her all. Suddenly, Ymir remembered Krista's words from before. She had said, "A glorious death is better than a meaningless one." In that moment of despair, Ymir asked to borrow a dagger. She declared that she would use it to fight. Ymir said, "Remember the promise we made back on the snowy mountain?" Then Ymir grabbed the dagger. She quickly leapt down from the tower. She slashed the palm of her hand. Suddenly, a golden lightning bolt flashed, and she began to transform into a Titan. Ymir charged straight into the enemies. Let's recall the past for a moment. Everyone, back then, in the middle of that snowstorm, the rookies were undergoing training, but they got separated from Krista and Ymir. On Krista and Ymir's side, Krista was struggling to drag Daz forward step by step, but Ymir advised Krista to leave Daz behind. But Krista firmly refused. Ymir understood. Krista never begged anyone to save her. Meanwhile, she only wanted to use Daz as an excuse to endure the cold so she could die there. That surprised Krista. At that moment, Ymir mentioned Krista's true identity. She had accidentally learned the truth while at the church. They said, "That girl will be allowed to live if she can change her name and join the military." And Ymir's enlistment was the same way. When the truth was revealed, Ymir scolded Krista. She said that Krista was only living under a false name. Krista had to try to please those who hated her. Ymir insisted. Krista must live under her real name and face her true self. That conversation ended. The 2 of them continued to look for a way back to the base. And now, when Ymir transformed into a Titan to protect her comrades, she turned into the Jaw Titan to fight against the other Titans. Ymir kept biting and tearing around the tower. Everyone was shocked that Ymir was actually a shifter. Meanwhile, Reiner and Bertholdt quickly realized she was the Titan that had devoured their comrade. Suddenly, the castle began to shake, causing Krista to fall from the castle. But Reiner caught her, while Reiner's face was filled with anger. By accident, he gripped Krista too tightly, causing her pain. That made him suddenly regain his composure. Now they were debating whether Ymir was a friend or an enemy. On Ymir's side, because the Titans were too many, she could no longer resist for long. At that moment, Krista finally understood the deeper meaning behind the promise from long ago. She encouraged Ymir. Ymir rampaged through the Titans. She even used the entire tower as a weapon. But when the tower collapsed, Ymir used her Titan body to save them. Suddenly, the Titans went mad and attacked Ymir. but their overwhelming numbers made it impossible for Ymir to hold out. She was continuously bitten and torn apart by them. Seeing this, Krista quickly rushed in to help, but she ended up becoming their target. At that very moment, the Survey Corps appeared in time. They wiped out all the Titans and rescued the group. Even though Ymir was severely injured, she still survived thanks to her Titan power. In that moment, Krista held Ymir's hand, and she whispered her real name, Historia Reese. Hearing that, Ymir gave a satisfied smile. After returning to the wall, Krista persuaded Hange that Ymir is an ally of humanity. Although there were still many doubts, the Survey Corps agreed to bring Ymir back for treatment. They continued to investigate the supposed breaches in the wall, but the results showed there were no breaches at all. At this moment, Reiner didn't seem to be doing well. Seeing this, Oren asked if he was okay. Reiner replied, "How could I not be worried when I almost died twice?" Berthold, looking very serious, realized the situation was getting tense. So, Berthold spoke up to encourage Reiner. By now, everyone could probably figure out who the spies were, right? Just as the troops were preparing to withdraw, Reiner suddenly called out to Oren. And then, Reiner and Berthold began to reveal a terrifying truth. 5 years ago, they were the ones who attacked the wall. Reiner declared, "We are the Armored Titan and the Colossus Titan." The two of them bluntly told Oren that, if he agreed to go with them, they would stop destroying and stop killing more members of humanity. Mikasa happened to overhear this strange conversation, so she started paying close attention to the three of them. Meanwhile, Oren still couldn't fully grasp the situation, because his mind was overloaded. Oren couldn't believe what he just heard. 12 hours earlier, Hange had been gathering information about Annie, and she realized that there were two others who came from the same district as her, Reiner and Berthold. Meanwhile, their records were missing many details, which filled her with suspicion about them. More notably, during the previous expedition, Reiner and Berthold had been given false information that Oren was on the right wing. Soon after, the female Titan attacked that exact right wing. At first, no one thought Reiner and Berthold were Annie's accomplices, but Armin suddenly recalled, since Oren's position had been clearly known by Reiner, and the female Titan only changed direction after capturing Reiner. From these details, Armin began to suspect both of them. Returning to the present, Oren didn't want to believe Reiner's words. He thought that Reiner was just stressed and talking nonsense. But Berthold, standing right beside him, remained silent, with a blank expression on his face. Meanwhile, a few members of the Survey Corps also started paying attention to this tense conversation. At that exact moment, the wound on Reiner's arm began to heal in a shocking way. Mikasa noticed the abnormality, so she immediately rushed in to attack the two of them. However, she couldn't finish them off. Just as a flash of yellow lightning appeared, Reiner and Berthold transformed into Titans right on the wall. The scene happened too quickly. Berthold, in the form of the Colossus Titan, suddenly grabbed Oren and leapt down. Oren was stunned as he realized the truth. At that moment, memories of Reiner and Berthold flooded back to him. He turned that shock into hatred. Oren bit down hard on his hand to transform into a Titan, and then he threw a punch at Reiner. A fierce battle broke out. The attacked Titan and the armored Titan clashed, both of them crashing to the ground, creating a massive shockwave. On top of the wall, Mikasa looked at the Colossus Titan with fury and regret, because earlier she hadn't managed to cut off the heads of the two traitors. At that moment on the wall, the Colossus Titan began attacking the Survey Corps. It devoured Ymir's comrades and another soldier. Enraged, Hange ordered everyone to attack together. The entire squad soared into the air to fight the Colossus Titan. The Colossus Titan resisted fiercely, swinging a mighty punch toward them. However, its enormous body made the Colossus Titan move sluggishly, and everyone could dodge it with ease. But just as they prepared to attack, a massive burst of heat erupted from the Colossus Titan. Because the heat was too intense, everyone was forced to retreat, and they couldn't get close to it. They had no choice but to spread out and keep watch over it. They waited until it turned back into human form. Meanwhile, Oren took a heavy punch from the armored Titan, which left the attacked Titan unable to stand. Reiner then began to approach step by step. Mikasa quickly rushed in as well. She used her blades to attack, but she still couldn't inflict any damage on the armored Titan. He didn't even bother with her. The armored Titan struck Oren, and the two exchanged blow after blow. Yet all of it was in vain. Oren still couldn't harm Reiner. By now, Mikasa also realized that neither of them could pierce the armored Titan. They couldn't break through that solid armor. At that moment, Oren remembered his childhood. He recalled when the Colossus Titan had attacked his hometown, fueling his hatred even more. Eren suddenly launched a counterattack against the armored Titan, but even though he had the will, Eren used a left hook to strike the armored Titan, yet it was all in vain. The armored Titan counterattacked. He landed a knockout blow on Eren, sending him flying into the air. Then, the protagonist's aura appeared. Memories of Annie during their training sessions resurfaced. Eren recalled the grappling techniques Annie once taught him to bring down an opponent. At that moment, the Colossus Titan began stepping toward Eren. Meanwhile, everyone on the wall was watching. They saw Eren resisting recklessly. He charged at the armored Titan. They thought Eren had lost his mind, but instead, he surprised them. The armored Titan and the attacked Titan threw punches at each other. But as the armored Titan's fist closed in, Eren slipped to the side. From below, he used Annie's technique. Eren locked Reiner's movements tightly. In an instant, he slammed the armored Titan to the ground. He successfully overpowered Reiner. It seemed like everything was over. But then Reiner fought back. He pushed Eren off, and Eren quickly locked his counterattack again. His grip was so strong that the armored Titan's face began to crack. Then Eren used all his strength to break Reiner's arm. Armin rushed over and reminded him, "Eren, you must retreat toward the wall to get support." Mikasa also warned, "Reiner won't let us withdraw so easily." And as they rushed toward the wall, the armored Titan immediately charged after them. Step by step, he closed the distance. By this time, everyone had regrouped. Hannes rushed to the wall, and when he saw the Colossus Titan, his hands began to tremble. Meanwhile, Hange leapt onto Eren's shoulder. She told him, "You must buy more time. And you have to use that grappling move again to break through the armor on the armored Titan's legs. Finally, you need to use your head to figure this out." Since Mikasa's blades were broken, Armin handed her his own blades to use. Suddenly, the armored Titan sped up and charged forward. He slammed Eren hard into the wall. Eren counterattacked. He locked Reiner in a hold. Meanwhile, Reiner kept punching Eren relentlessly, and the speed of his blows only grew faster. This made everyone think Eren couldn't hold on. But then Hange said, "There must be parts of the armored Titan that aren't covered, and those will be his weak points." Then Reiner charged and slammed Eren once again. Eren noticed an opening. He tightly grabbed the armored Titan, preventing him from moving. Mikasa realized this was their chance. She rushed in using her blades and gear. Mikasa slashed at the armored Titan's knee joint, and the attack was successful. The armored Titan's resistance weakened. Eren then used all his strength to snap Reiner's neck. Meanwhile, everyone outside cheered for Eren. In his desperation, Reiner summoned all his strength to push Eren away. Then Reiner suddenly stopped moving. Everyone thought it was finally over. But it was all part of Reiner's plan. He pushed Eren down beneath the body of the Colossus Titan. Eren quickly realized Reiner's strategy. He tried to muster his strength to finish Reiner off. But it was already too late. The Colossus Titan let his massive body fall, exploding like a nuclear bomb, and blowing everyone away. The armored Titan immediately seized the chance. He bit into Eren's neck, and they successfully captured him alive. Reiner quickly made his Titan body sprint away to escape. Meanwhile, Bertholdt had returned to human form, and he carried the unconscious Ymir with him. Then they leapt onto the armored Titan's shoulder and escaped. On top of the wall, Hannes and the other soldiers were horrified as they witnessed the scene. Meanwhile, at another section of the wall, Commander Pixis was still dozing off from drinking. A subordinate came to wake him and report the situation. The military police brigade said they had dealt with the Titans that had infiltrated. The Survey Corps also hadn't found any new enemies. If the Vanguard squad's inspection went smoothly, they should be returning soon. Hearing the report, Pixis only nodded drowsily. He didn't seem surprised at all. Erwin soon arrived to report as well. He said, "Some members of the military police brigade are worried after seeing the Survey Corps fighting Titans. Some of them regret that they weren't part of the battle themselves. Yet many others are afraid, making excuses to avoid going to the front lines." At that moment, the Vanguard squad on patrol returned. They reported that the wall still had no issues. But in reality, the situation was extremely dire. On their way back, they ran into Hange's squad along with the unarmed members of the 104th. By then, the entire squad had suffered heavy losses, because they had faced both the Colossus Titan and the Armored Titan. On Hange's side, some soldiers were severely injured, while only a few managed to escape unharmed. Armin recalled the past, when he, Eren, and Mikasa were still children. That day, he went to buy bread. Suddenly, the three of them were blocked by bullies. They tried to snatch away the loaf of bread. Since Armin was weak, he couldn't fight back. Eren grew angry. He immediately rushed in to fight them. But Eren wasn't strong enough to take on 3 large boys. So he was quickly overpowered. At that very moment, Mikasa appeared, with just a few swift moves. She defeated the bullies. Eren became upset again, because Mikasa always stole the spotlight. But Armin knew that without Mikasa, they would have been in serious trouble. That memory flashed through Mikasa's mind as she woke up. It turned out she had only been dreaming of the past. The moment she opened her eyes, Mikasa immediately grabbed Armin's shirt and asked about Eren. But when she looked down below the wall, she only saw the corpses of titans. Armin told Mikasa, Eren and Ymir have been taken by Reiner and Bertholdt. The situation was extremely critical. At this moment, the other side of the wall was blocked by coal wagons, so they couldn't immediately pursue. Now, many captains and veteran soldiers were also seriously injured. At this time, if they wanted to give chase, they would need to gather an elite squad to have any hope. When Mikasa heard that, she could only tighten her scarf. While Mikasa's eyes were filled with determination, but within them also overflowed with despair, Mikasa and Armin sat talking about Eren. Armin said, Eren is always rushing forward on his own. Mikasa only wants to stay by his side. But that has always been difficult. Hannes walked over. He handed each of them a ration. He encouraged the 2 of them and said, all this time, they've always had to chase after Eren to clean up the mess he caused. However, Eren is resilient, no matter how hard it gets. He has never backed down. Right now, Eren is surely waiting for everyone, because they will come to clean up this mess. Hannes's words helped Mikasa and Armin regain their spirit. They tried to eat rations to recover their strength and waited for reinforcements to arrive. Commander Erwin led the Survey Corps. They advanced together with the military police. Armin suggested that Krista should stay behind, but she was still determined to go in order to save Ymir. Although he was seriously injured, Hannes still tried to tell everyone, Reiner and Bertholdt might take Eren to the small forest ahead. Even though those 2 are titans, they will still be in danger if they encounter other titans. Especially after the recent battle. They must have already been injured. And if the Survey Corps can reach the forest before sunset, they still have a chance to rescue Eren. After the troops moved out, Hange wanted to go to the village where the immobile titan was to investigate. Because she had a feeling that something was unusual there. However, she was exhausted, so the blonde man decided to go in her place. On Rainer's side, at that moment, Eren and Ymir also began to regain consciousness. He discovered that his hand was gone. Eren immediately realized he had lost the battle earlier. Bertholdt said, earlier, in the rush, I accidentally bit off your hand as well. Eren became angry and tried to transform into a titan again. But Ymir quickly analyzed the situation. She said, this forest is vast, while countless titans down below are staring up at us. Moreover, Reiner and Bertholdt still have their vertical maneuvering gear. Even if Eren transforms into a titan, their escape would still be nearly impossible. While Eren was still hesitating, Reiner said, right now, both he and Bertholdt cannot transform into titans, because their stamina has already been exhausted. And Reiner revealed, they will take Eren and Ymir back to their homeland. He knew the 2 of them would not obey. But if they fought here and now, both would only become prey for the titans. Therefore, Reiner advised Eren not to act recklessly but to wait until nightfall. Meanwhile, Ymir asked why Reiner didn't just run straight back to their homeland in his armored titan form. But he didn't bother to answer. Yet Eren also understood, there was no way for them to escape. If they tried to run now, he and Ymir would become an easy meal for the titans below. Eren angrily questioned Ymir. He couldn't understand why she could also transform into a titan. So which side was she really on? Eren suspected. Was Ymir an ally or a traitor? Reiner interrupted. He said, if the whole group starts fighting right now, everyone will just die in vain. He advised Eren to hold back and wait until nightfall before making a move. Eren tried to stay calm, but deep inside, he was filled with doubt. Eren decided he would try to gather more information from Reiner and Bertholdt, and then he would look for a chance to escape. Meanwhile, the Survey Corps was still advancing at full speed. Mikasa, being too impatient, kept accelerating, which caused the formation to become disorganized. Armin and Hannes had to constantly remind her to stay calm. Elsewhere, Reiner began to reveal the conflict within his own mind, while his words became incoherent. At times he claimed himself to be a warrior, and at other times he saw himself as a soldier of humanity. Even Bertholdt felt uneasy about this confusion. Ymir noticed Rainer's mental disorder, and she launched psychological attacks on him. making him question his own purpose. Meanwhile, Eren was furious. He shouted at them, "You brought the Titans inside the walls 5 years ago. And my mother was eaten by a Titan. Everything you did only turned you into cold-blooded murderers. But they do not deserve the title of soldier or warrior." And he wanted them to die, because they needed to pay the price for what they had done. Ymir noticed that the atmosphere was growing more tense. So she suddenly asked, "Who brought the beast Titan to the wall?" She suspected that if they captured it, they might be able to find a way home. But Reiner gave no clear explanation. Eren stood there, looking as if he didn't understand what was happening. He kept questioning Ymir, but she refused to answer him. She said, "Nothing will end if the two of them die here." At that moment, Reiner spoke up. He invited Ymir to join them. Reiner said, "Reiner knows you want to protect Krista, and if you cooperate, it will be much easier." Ymir seemed shaken, while Eren grew angry, because he couldn't get any more information. On the Survey Corps side, as Erwin's rescue team closed in, Erwin's scouts discovered an immobile Titan in the village. Suddenly, the Titan saw the picture of Connie's family. It unexpectedly gathered its strength and stood up. The soldier immediately fought back, but one of his comrades stopped him. He realized that the Titan reacted to the photograph. That left him astonished. In the forest, Reiner and Bertholdt discussed their plan. They believed Ymir was more important than Eren, because she possessed a special ability, and she was the key for them to complete their mission. However, Krista was also an important figure, because she knew the secret of the walls. Meanwhile, taking Eren back might not guarantee the mission's success. So Reiner decided they would bring back both Eren and Annie, because he realized Bertholdt's feelings for her. Eren saw an opportunity. He pretended to obey, then suddenly launched an attack on Reiner. He threw powerful punches, but they were all useless. Reiner easily locked his neck, causing Eren to gradually fall into unconsciousness. As Eren's awareness faded, he overheard Ymir and Bertholdt talking. They said that when they were transformed into Titans, both of them completely lost control and couldn't remember who they had eaten. Hearing this made Eren even more furious, because he believed that was just an excuse to cover up their crimes. Suddenly, a signal flare echoed from afar. It signaled that the Survey Corps had closed in. Erwin ordered the entire army to accelerate. He ignored the Titans chasing right behind them. Reiner hurried to prepare a countermeasure. He and Bertholdt used their mobility gear to lure the Titans toward them. He wanted to block the path of the Survey Corps. However, they knew very well, if they kept fighting here, sooner or later, they would be surrounded, and they couldn't transform in this place. Yet the smoke signals drew closer and closer. They indicated that the Survey Corps was almost there. Ymir suddenly thought, Krista will definitely be there, because she is so kind-hearted, so she will be present. And Ymir wanted to go back and take Krista with her. But Reiner stopped her, because the situation did not allow it. She remembered her childhood. Ymir had once been chosen by a man to be the successor of the king, and she possessed everything of a monarch. But one day, soldiers stormed in, they arrested everyone, and that man shifted the blame onto Ymir. She admitted to everything in order to save their lives. But things did not go as she wished. They were taken to the walls, and they were thrown down below to be turned into Titans. While she herself was transformed into a Titan, she wandered everywhere. Ymir believed everything was her fault, so she buried herself alive. Until one day, Ymir accidentally devoured a human who possessed the Jaw Titan, and that person was also Reiner's friend. After that, she became a shifter, and she promised herself never to deceive herself again. Then she became a thief, and Ymir did everything she could just to survive each day. One day, she discovered Krista's secret, and she enlisted in the military. Ymir wanted to learn more about that girl, but the closer she got to her, Ymir realized, in this world, there are also people like her, and her will to live grew stronger. Returning to the present, Ymir suddenly launched a counterattack. She grabbed Bertholdt. Ymir made a proposal. They must return with Krista, or she would take Eren back herself. She had confidence in her ability to survive in the forest. At that moment, a blinding bolt of lightning struck within the forest. A Titan suddenly appeared. It made the Survey Corps realize that someone had transformed into a Titan. They immediately split into teams. They charged straight into the forest to rescue Eren. Armin, Mikasa, and Krista rushed closer, and suddenly saw Ymir in her Titan form. She ignored Connie's questions. Ymir just stayed silent. At that moment, Armin sensed something was wrong. Krista saw Ymir, and that made her very happy. Krista quickly rushed toward her, but Ymir immediately leapt down. Ymir used her jaws to grab Krista and ran away, so everyone quickly chased after her. But her speed was too fast. They couldn't catch up. At that moment, Armin figured it out. Ymir had betrayed them to join forces with Reiner. And as Ymir ran toward them, Reiner instantly transformed into the armored titan, while Bertholdt transformed into the Colossus Titan. Mikasa was stunned by the sight. While Armin understood, Ymir had truly chosen to side with Reiner and Bertholdt. And so the chase began. Mikasa and her comrades rode on horseback. They were determined to give chase at all costs to rescue Eren. Erwin ordered the entire army to ignore the titans behind them, and they had to focus all their strength on charging into the forest. Amid the sound of howling wind and pounding hooves, Mikasa silently swore, "No matter who the traitor is, even Ymir, she will not be forgiven." At that moment, Ymir released Krista. She said, "I'm sorry, but I can't leave you behind, because I want you by my side." But Krista opposed her. She said, "These people only want to devour titans. They just want to steal your power. They will never let us live." Krista could not understand Ymir's actions. She thought, Reiner and Bertholdt must have threatened her. That thought shook Ymir, but Bertholdt persuaded her. Now they were already surrounded by the Survey Corps. Krista could never return anymore, and she would be buried within the four walls. Hearing this, Ymir gradually calmed down, but she lied to Krista, saying, "If you don't come with me, Reiner and Bertholdt will kill you." Ymir even insisted, "Krista is the only talisman that keeps me alive." Trusting Ymir, Krista agreed to follow her without any doubt. At that moment, both Eren and Ymir realized the rescue force was very close. Mikasa charged forward first. She slashed and blinded a titan's eye while trying to reach Eren. Reiner immediately raised his arm to shield Eren and Bertholdt. Suddenly, Ymir attacked Mikasa, so Mikasa shifted her focus onto Ymir. At that moment, Krista raised her voice to stop her. Krista said, "Please don't kill my friend." Mikasa doesn't have much time. She forced Krista to choose, either return to humanity, or stay with Ymir. Otherwise, even Mikasa would not spare Ymir. With no other choice, Ymir had to stay still. She urged Krista to go back with the Survey Corps, because she knew she couldn't win against Mikasa. Meanwhile, Bertholdt was extremely shaken, because Eren was trying to escape, while Reiner was still tormented by his inner conflict. Suddenly, from the outside, Jean shouted. He urged Eren to join him in beating Reiner up. Connie still couldn't believe the truth, because the memories and camaraderie between them felt too cruel to accept. Mikasa couldn't hold back. She was determined to kill Reiner and Bertholdt to save Eren. At that moment, Bertholdt spoke up. He said, "Reiner and I never wanted to kill people or deceive our friends. The time we spent fighting alongside everyone, that was truly the happiest time of our lives. Even though we don't dare ask for forgiveness, I beg you all, please try to understand us." At the same time, Hannes appeared. He reported, "A horde of titans is approaching." He advised the group to quickly leave the forest, because they were leading a swarm of titans toward them. The titans soon rushed in, and the scene became as chaotic as hell itself. Although the armored titan managed to push away a bunch of titans, their overwhelming numbers caused the armored titan to be torn apart. Erwin shouted, "This is only the beginning. Humanity will never have a future if we don't take Eren back." In the midst of the chaos, Reiner was forced to drop Eren and Ymir. He wanted to use all his strength to fight off the titans clinging to him. Suddenly, Commander Erwin had his arm bitten off by a titan, but he still shouted the order for the entire army to charge forward. Now, many soldiers were falling. Mikasa pushed past everyone. She rushed straight toward Bertholdt. Mikasa almost struck him down, but she slipped and was grabbed by another titan. Suddenly, Jean rushed in just in time. He slashed the titan's eyes and rescued Mikasa. Suddenly, two people used their maneuvering gear to close in on Bertholdt, but the armored titan blocked them. At this moment, Bertholdt decided to take Eren away. Suddenly, Armin appeared. He questioned Bertholdt about Annie. They mentioned that she was being tortured in the dungeon. He used psychological tactics against him, which nearly made Bertholdt lose control. At that moment, even with only one arm left, Erwin, he still led the charge, and launched an attack on Bertholdt to rescue Eren. Mikasa quickly saved him, and they had to retreat immediately. Krista saw Ymir being attacked by another titan. She quickly rushed to her aid. Amid the chaos, Krista was pulled onto a horse by Connie. While running, Ymir explained that she had no choice but to follow Reiner. But Sasha only thought she was lying. Krista was in pain, yet she still didn't fully trust Ymir. At the same time, Reiner, in his armored titan form, he began throwing titans at the scouts to block their path. Mikasa and Eren were thrown off their horses, but when they stood back up, Eren panicked as he realized the titan before him was the one that had eaten his mother. At this moment, Erwin was also being chased by another titan. Ymir suddenly thought that all the failures of the plan were because of him. Everyone wondered what she would do. But instead, Ymir rushed in and shoved the titan away. Suddenly, Ymir dashed forward to save him. At that moment, Connie's group also arrived, but Erwin didn't care about his own wounds. He shouted loudly, "Focus on saving Eren." Eren screamed in despair, but he was powerless before the titan that had eaten his mother. Mikasa was badly injured. She almost had no strength left. Just as the titan was about to finish both of them, Hannes appeared. He slashed through the titan's fingers with his blades. Hannes swore to avenge Carla, Eren's mother. Meanwhile, Armin and Jean quickly rushed in to save them. Suddenly, a titan that Reiner had thrown arrived. They blocked their way. They showed their displeasure toward them. Meanwhile, Ymir seemed shaken. She didn't know whether to help Reiner's group or return to the Survey Corps. But she realized this was her chance to save Krista, and she urged Krista to come with her. So Krista leapt onto Ymir's head. She wanted to know why Ymir was doing this. Thanks to Krista's encouragement, Ymir decided to fight alongside them, on Eren's side. Meanwhile, Mikasa could only watch Eren in despair. She couldn't do anything, because at this moment, Mikasa was injured, so she untied Eren, and Eren wanted to be the one to finish off that titan. Even though he kept biting his hand, he kept failing again and again, while Hannes fought bravely. In the end, he was caught by the titan, and it swallowed Hannes right before Eren's eyes. The scene made Eren scream in anguish. He blamed himself for being useless. Mikasa tried to calm him down. She comforted Eren in his moment of deepest despair, and Mikasa encouraged Eren. She didn't want him to be like that. Suddenly, the titan attacked them. Eren snapped out of it. He used his hands to stop the titan. Eren bit his hand to transform but failed. In his despair, he let out a fierce roar. Suddenly,